In the next year, the young Fanxian began to learn all about poisons from teacher Fei, who came from Kyoto. Occasionally, he took time out of the city and traveled across the mountains to find plant-based poisons such as Nux vomica and Barbados nuts. I also tasted all kinds of fungi and had stomachaches countless times. If it weren't for a master of the poison family around me, I would have gone to the underworld long ago. Of course, in order to learn all this more deeply, under the leadership of teacher Fei Jie, the illegitimate son of Count Sinan has committed numerous murders, including countless little white rabbits with short tails and toads scurrying around, thus ruining their heroic souls. Under his delicate hands. This year, Fanxian was 5 years old. Strangely, after Fei Jie came to Danzhou Port, Wu Zhu, who had been living in the grocery store, seemed to no longer deliberately avoid Fanxian. At least whenever Fanxian sneaked to the grocery store to drink, the children must not drink it. When the wine arrived, Wu Zhu would always help him make some side dishes to eat. Fanxian sometimes wonders, Wu Zhu is his mother's servant, so why doesn't he even care about drinking? Fanxian knew that his mother must not be an ordinary person, so she had a loyal and terrifying powerful person like Wu Zhu as a servant. However, Fanxian was not sure whether this blind master would always stay here. By your side, you are watching over yourself. For some reason, Fanxian has gradually become accustomed to Wu Zhu guarding him not far away, and has become accustomed to the black cloth covering Wu Zhu's eyes appearing in some corner from time to time, such as under the bamboo in the corner of the alley, such as next to the tofu stall on the street, and so on. During this year, the qi in Fanxian's body has been progressing very slowly but extremely steadily. It is faintly approaching a certain threshold, but the domineering qi that can be accumulated in his sleep has become somewhat no longer there. The stability made his mood slightly agitated. He knew that in this still unfamiliar world, there were many unknown dangers. At least there must be many problems in Earl Sinan's mansion in Kyoto that he did not understand well. And just after he woke up, he set a goal for himself: live well and make progress every day. Because of this great goal, in order to save his life so that he can carry out his 3 more great tasks in the future, he is very persistent in practicing. And because he suffered from myasthenia gravis in his previous life and was unable to move, he was suddenly able to walk freely in this life. Fanxian cherished this ability even more. He got up early in the morning every day to exercise, climbing high and low. He was diligent to the point that even Fei Jie found it terrifying. It's just a pity that there is currently no way to practice magic. In terms of diligence, he is definitely much more diligent than any other child. But he often comforts himself that as a 20-year-old young man, of course he is more diligent than those little slugs. In fact, no one knows that he is not able to endure hardship, but just has ADHD. After lying down for more than 10 years, no matter how lazy a person is, he will never want to lie down again. At night, in the room where Mr. Fei Jie lives alone, the light of the oil lamp has not dissipated. He is leaning on the table, and his gray hair seems to be darker than when he first came to Danzhou Port. At this time, he was holding a quill and writing something on the white letter paper. There was a knock on the door, and Fei Jie said softly without turning his head, "Come in." Fanxian opened the door, stepped across the high threshold, touched his little head, and walked over with a smile. "What are you writing, teacher?" Fei Jie didn't avoid him very much. He pushed the letter aside casually, turned around and asked softly, "What's the matter?" After spending a year with Count Sinan's illegitimate son, for some reason, this Overwatch Council toxicology expert, who has frightened countless officials and thieves, actually feels a little warm in his heart. Looking at this kid brings joy from the bottom of his heart. Little guy, although he is young, he is willing to endure hardships and study hard, and he does not have the artificial aversion to poisons that most people in the world have. This makes Fei Jie very comfortable. And the most important thing is that Fanxian is very smart and sensible, and sometimes he doesn't even look like a 5-year-old child. "Teacher." Fanxian moved his hips and moved to the bench with some difficulty. "I really want to know what kind of people my parents are." In fact, this was the 4th time in a year that Fanxian had asked about the past between Count Sinan and his mother, but Fei Jie always said nothing when he asked about it the previous few times. "Your father is a very remarkable person." Fei Jie said, "Of course, your mother is an even more remarkable person." Saying it means saying it in vain. The oversight yuan is a terrifying place for the entire country responsible for investigating major cases and major crimes committed by officials. Fei Jia was an early member of the academy and later served as the host of the three offices. He has always held a high position, even in a place like Kyoto where dragons and tigers are hidden. They are all objects of fear. Such a terrifying master of poisoning was actually sent to the distant Danzhou city by Count Sinan to teach his illegitimate son with just one word. You can even use your toes to imagine how terrifying Earl Sinan's power is in Kyoto, but he doesn't know whether this power is official or hidden in the dark. As for the mother who died on the day of his birth, although Fan Xian didn't know what kind of woman she was, his intuition told him that this mother must be very extraordinary, and he didn't know whether it was because of her body's blood connection or something else. For other reasons, he always felt that he vaguely missed the woman whose name he didn't know and whom he had never seen before. Fei Jie seemed not to want to talk about this issue and asked calmly, "Since my concubine has given birth to a son, you will naturally not be able to inherit everything in the Earl's mansion in the future, so what are you going to do?" Fan Xian smiled sweetly. "Teacher taught me how to use poisons and how to detoxify them. In fact, I learned a lot of medical knowledge. If it doesn't work out in the future, I can become a doctor." Fei Jie smoothed his long beard under his chin and said to himself, "That's natural. Even the imperial doctors in the palace may not be better than me in terms of medical skills. As my only student, you will be a doctor in the future. Of course, it's more than enough." The two masters and disciples said this, but in fact they knew deep down that this was just an extravagant wish. Fan Xian suddenly asked, "Teacher, there seems to be something wrong with the Jinqi method I practice. In fact, I came here quietly tonight to ask the teacher for advice." Fei Jie believed that he was better at using poison than anyone in the world, but he always refused to teach Fan Xian other skills because he always told Fan Xian, "Human life is limited, but the ways to kill are infinite. So we should invest our limited lives in the infinite pursuit of the most powerful killing methods." In Teacher Fei's eyes, the most powerful method of killing is naturally poisoning. Now that Fan Xian has the best poisoning teacher, what else is there to cultivate qi? As for the magic that Fan Xian was obsessed with, Fei Jie, like most Qingguo people, believed that it was just a useless skill to assist in combat. But today, it was the first time that Fan Xian took the initiative to ask questions in a year. Fei Jie couldn't help but be a little curious. He stretched out 2 fingers and touched his veins lightly, and his expression shuddered.